Good morning, friends. While the tension, the awakening, the excitement, the anger, and everything else is building up across the country, the very fact that the truth of an of overseas and foreign citizen of Indian origin, when that location got highlighted, it's quite natural that we tend to think of the source, the origin. It's just like when a cricketer is going on observing all kinds of balls that are being thrown at him, whether that's going to come as an off spin, or that's going to be a leg spin, or that's going to be a googly, or that's going to go as a bouncer. And when he's just getting ready to bat, he gets out, hit wicket. Similar is a situation that we found ourselves yesterday when, in the course of all that discussion on how did we arrive at that place, I remembered my own translation of Shrimad Mudgal Puran, which I started immediately after retirement in 2015. And at that time, during the first draft, it was just flowing and flowing and flowing. I just went on as the visions appeared, and as I was translating from it was a mixture of Marathi, Sanskrit, and everything, and I was picturizing it in English and converting into the words were coming out in English. At that time, I didn't think much of it. I just completed the whole job in 9.5 months. Of course, in the course of this, several revelations, several trips to places to the temples, dreams, visions, everything happened, including connection to the Akashic records, the source document. So, but subsequently, after revising, editing, re-editing, rereading, and then of course even conducting classes, morning classes, we never it has 9 parts, we never reached the 9th part, which many of the all which was begun either stopped in the third part or the second part or in the first part. So we are still somewhere in the process. But in the very beginning, the first part itself of Mudgal Puran, this was the original Marathi book which I translated. In fact, I tore it up and put it in a box file because it was very unwieldy to hold and keep it across the table. So I put it in a box file, and I would take 2-3 pages every day to translate. And then this was the original first print. Of course, because of rereading, the cover is torn and all. This was the original cover. The original cover, and then which was done, the puja was done to a copy of that at my Morgaon. This was the puja copy. Of course, it could not be done in one spiral binding, so it was divided into 2-3, and this was the puja copy of the Mudgal Puran, blessed by Maireshwar. So, coming to think of it, in the very first chapter, in the very first part, there is a discussion of the Mudgal Puran. How the Mudgal Puran was first narrated by Shaunaka, Sutta to Shaunaka and others, and the rishis who were eagerly asking. So Sutta says, I'll tell you what I heard from Vyasamuni. And Vyasamuni says, I will tell you what I heard from Brahmadeva. And then the conversation goes to Mudgalacharya. Mudgalacharya was the one who originally wrote it in Treta Yuga. Treta Yuga's Vyasa was Mudgalacharya. And Mudgalacharya is a part incarnate. Mudgalacharya was born as an Ansh of Surya to Angiras Muni. Now, Mudgalacharya is narrating this story of Mudgal Puran to Daksha Prajapati. Who is this Daksha Prajapati? Daksha Prajapati was the father of Sati and Shiva, when Sati immolated herself in the Yajna Kund of Yajna Kund, where Shiva was not invited, and so she, because of, there was due to her disrespect shown, she through yoga agni she created in herself, and she jumped into that agni kund and burned and died. And so after that, there was a whole uproar of everybody. The Shivaganas came, and then the Bhairava, Shiva pulled his one of the locks, and the Bhairava manifested, and he went with his army and caused havoc and destruction of all that yajna. And Nandi was so furious that in fact, in one earlier, this also Nandi had cursed this Daksha Prajapati that you will lose your head. So this Bhairava had chopped off this Daksha's head and put it into the Yajnakund, and then Daksha Prajapati said, I want a head, I want to be able to live wholly, fully, I'm not able to speak, I need. So then they found one ram, and they fixed that head of a ram to this Daksha Prajapati. Initially, this was the initial stage. So Daksha Prajapati, then afterwards, Daksha lamented over his foolishness, of how he was arrogant, how he had did not respect the Ishvara. Shiva's in those days, Shiva's position was the predominant. He was a Maheshwara. But they substituted that by Vishnu. Vishnu was made the presiding the deity there, and they had started the yajna, and so it failed, and they had forgotten to worship Ganesha also. But at that time Ganesha was not there. So this time, so Maheshwara was the predominant deity. So at that time, probably Ganesha was created as the first worshipped, or the one to be worshipped before performance of any puja or any activity. In a subsequent incarnation, when he was born to Shiva and Parvati, after Sati had reincarnated as Parvati and then Ganesha was born, and then Shiva reinstated him as the deity to be first worshipped, Jeshta Raja, and before all pujas. So at this point of time, so this story goes much beyond all those period of time. So this goes to even Kruta Yuga of the cosmic Kruta Yuga. I told you the Kruta Yuga that was entirely deleted, and only certain extracts or the essential, or that which influenced the subsequent time periods were reproduced by the rishis who came from Tapoloka, and then reproduced or rewritten in the subsequent Vedas, Veda Shastras, Itihasas, Puranas. So Daksha Prajapati, Mutkalacharya is narrating this story. And in that he says, I will tell you what I heard from Shiva as he told to Parvati. So Shiva is narrating to Parvati that about this. So she asks, what is the origin? For one day she noticed Shiva worshipping, he's in dhyana. Maheshwara, you are Maheshwara. You are the Lord of the world, supreme creator of this universe. Whom are you meditating upon? So Shiva tells Parvati that I am meditating on Ganesha, Gajanana. And that Gajanana, he manifested in my heart as light. And to that Gajanana. So then she says, I want to know more about this Gajanana. Where does he stay? How does he look? Please tell me more about him. So then Shiva starts narration. He says, this Ganesha lives in Swananda Loka. So he's a Swanandavasi, and then he describes that he has 4 arms and everything, and all that description he gives, and then he says that Gajanana he lives in Swananda Loka. I should, but he incarnated several times on earth for in all the yugas for killing various demons, and those demons, many of them got killed, and then afterwards he came to set right the imbalance in the energies of the world. When the evil increased and when the gods prayed to Gajanana that the evil, we are unable to bear the atrocities of the evil, then he would come and he would set right the balance either by killing the deva, killing the asuras, or making devas stronger to defeat the asuras. So in whatever ways, different stories are there, in different methods he used for setting right the balance. So that is what Mudgal Puran is all about. So when Shiva hinted that he took several incarnations, so Parvati asked, please tell me all about all those incarnations. At least tell me about the major ones, the major incarnations which Ganesha took for killing the major asuras. That's how this Mudgal Puran is all about, and it is about killing of Madasur, Mohasur, Krodasur, Lobasur, Ahankarasur. That is, there are 8 asuras. That is 8 evil aspects of the mind. These are mind-born asuras. So these mental asuras, they cannot be killed. So to kill these mind-born asuras, Gajanana incarnated, and he took various incarnations for killing them, such as Ekadanta, Vakratunda, Lambodara, Vakratunda, Ekadanta, Mahodara, Gajanana, Lambodara, Vikata, Vignaraja, and Dhumravarna. These incarnations were to kill the specific asuras of all these mind-born asuras of Krodasur, Lobasur, Mohasur, Ahankarasur. So this is the story. So these are all the described in detail in Shrimad Mudgal Puran. But what I wanted to arrive at was in the initial stage when Parvati is asking about these incarnations. So Shiva says, I will have to go to the real creation itself. I can't simply tell about the battles or the incarnations without having referring to the origin of creation, why it all started. So he goes to the time when Brahmadeva was first when the Brahmadeva, that is Brahma, the total Parabrahma, he wanted to know himself, so he created a reflection of himself, and in that from that reflection he says, who am I? To know him, and then that reflection created another reflection of illusion, that is an illusory body that will give a reference point from which he can know who am I. Whereas that Parabrahma was Parabrahma, this reflection, and with that other reflection, the reflection of the reflection became Maya, or the different qualities, with the threefold qualities of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Then from there manifested the Purusha and Prakriti. That whole process is described in the Mudgal Puran. It will be very difficult to go right now, but then from there how the various elements came into being, and how this entire creation of names and forms came into being with the permutations and combinations of each of these 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And also how this Parabrahma, the Brahma, the creator, after creating the elements, when they created initially when this Prakriti and Purusha was created, first from there came this 5 Ishvaras, that is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Shakti, and Surya. where Brahmadeva is the creator aspect. The Vishnu is the sustainer or maintenance aspect. Shiva is the destroyer aspect. Shakti is the gunas, the sattva, rajas, and tamas. And Surya is the atma or the sense of I or sense of doership in all of them. So now these Ishvaras, when they were just created, they didn't know, they didn't have knowledge because they came from the unmanifest. That unmanifest is inert, it is ignorance. So from that ignorance to generate the knowledge or to manifest that knowledge, which is in its unmanifest condition, they prayed. And that time they didn't know Om Gam Ganapati or Nama, nothing. They did Yenakena. Whoever that you are, please give us that knowledge. So Yenakena, that was the original mantra, and they whoever you are, you please manifest. And then from that came from that pure potential came the knowledge. And then when they got the knowledge, initially Brahmadeva, he was there in the Satya Loka, and in the ocean of Satya Loka, sitting on a lotus. And then from that waters came another ocean came out of that. And from that initial, that Brahmadeva had no form, but he had, you can say it is an anda form, that is egg, the cosmic egg. From there water flowed, and from that water in a leaf, Vishnu manifested as a small child. And that child form of Vishnu, he created, just out of play, he created a lotus, a beautiful lotus. Seeing this lotus, the Brahmadeva, the creator who was in his ocean, looked at this lotus and he said, I am the creator. Who created this lotus? He came out of curiosity to inquire into this, and then he asked Vishnu, how are you creating the lotus? I am supposed to be the creator. I have created you also. How can you create something else? So conflict arose between Vishnu and Vishnu and Brahma. So Vishnu said, okay, no, I just did create, but I created out of play. But Brahmadeva was curious, how did you create? So Vishnu said, you see my greatness. And so you enter my body and see what all things are there inside my body, and you will know my greatness. So Brahmadeva entered Vishnu's body, and he explored from all over his body. He found several universes, several worlds, several things in that, all creation moving around inside. And then he found in each of this universe one Brahmadeva, and he also found their Vishnu and their Brahmadeva there inside that universe. So he was flabbergasted, and he said, yeah, you're truly great. And so he wanted to come out. By the time he could come out, Vishnu, out of his yogic powers, he closed all the exits. When he closed all the exits, Brahmadeva wandered up and down his body, but he could not come out. Then he went into meditation, and through his yogic, through the Jnana Chakshun, he visualized this opening in the navel of Vishnu, and through that navel stalk, the navel, he came out of that tube from the navel. And that is how that lotus, he came out of the navel, and he manifested in the lotus as Brahmadeva. So whatever pictures we see about Vishnu, where Brahmadeva sitting on the lotus from the navel of Vishnu, it happened like this. Then when Brahmadeva came out, he got annoyed with Vishnu. He said, how did you trap me like this? You played a mischief on this. This is not fair upon you, Then Vishnu laughed and said, no, this was out of my own play. Then somehow they reconciled, and then they said, okay, Brahmadeva said, now you saying that you're so great, but see, I was able to come out of you. Now you explore my greatness. So Vishnu entered Brahmadeva And then Brahmadeva's greatness, he also saw the Brahmadeva's greatness by all the universes and everything in that. And then he also came out, and then Brahmadeva said, after they came out, now then they remembered, let us test who's great. Then Vishnu accepted, you are also great. Brahmadeva, these two accepted each other's greatness, but then we need to know who are the other great, the Shiva, Vishnu, Shakti, Surya. So the moment they remembered Shakti, Shiva, Shakti and Surya, Shiva first manifested. Shiva manifested as a huge column of light. He said, now you thought about me, tell me what is your problem? How did you think about me? So then they said, see, we were each other trying to see who is great amongst us, but we find that you are also great. So we want to know, you exhibit your greatness, that you are greater than both of us. Now Shiva, he said, okay. And he converted himself into this huge column of light with no end above, no end below. He said, okay, now go and explore my beginning and my end. So among themselves, Brahmadeva decided, I will go upwards. Vishnu decided, I will go downwards, and we'll each explore each other, the other ends, and then come and meet here. So, but before Brahmadeva was in a hurry to go upwards. But Vishnu just, wait, I have something to tell you. When you go, you must give me one promise before you go. What is it? Please tell me fast. So Vishnu said, after this whole thing is over, you extract a boon from Shiva that he should be born as your son. He said, okay. And without thinking twice, he said, okay. And Brahmadeva went upwards, Vishnu went downwards, neither found any end. And then they came and met, okay, you are great. You are not, we could neither find the end, nor the beginning, nor the end. And so they accepted Shiva's greatness. Then Shakti arrived there. They all accepted that each one is great in their own individual states. And then subsequently, because of the boon given by Brahmadeva to boon given by Shiva to Brahmadeva, that he will be born as Brahma's son, Shiva was born from the forehead of Brahmadeva as Rudra. That Rudra was the Ardhanarishwar, that is both Shiva and Shakti together, that is both the divine masculine and divine feminine together in one body, manifested as Rudra. And that Rudra had 11 Rudras, and that is a separate story. That is an aspect of Maheshwara that manifested. So how Brahmadeva, Vishnu, Brahma was a creator, then from Brahma was reborn as Vishnu's son from the lotus when he came out of the lotus. And then when Rudra came out of the forehead of Brahma, he became Rudra, Brahma's son. So in this trinity of interconnection between Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, subsequently it got sorted out by the birth of Ganesha. Because as Rudra, that's another story, how Brahmadeva had cursed Shiva that you will have to suffer the pain of beheading your son, and you will have to suffer the pain of a widower. Because as Rudra, once, then of course we know that Saraswati was the mind-born daughter of Brahmadeva, who manifested, who was the Shabda, that is Vani, that is your the very speech. So only that speech, that interpretation of the Vedas were created by Vishnu as four. They came manifested, four Vedas came manifested out of Brahma, the creator. But to interpret the Vedas, we needed the understanding, or that Saraswati was the Shakti who interpreted, through whom Brahmadeva was able to understand and then convert it into creation, knowledge. So so when he had, at the time of creation, he had to constantly refer to her, or she required her, and so he was constantly after her, looking at her to be able to, because that it was a power by which he could convert the knowledge into manifest, to bring about the manifestation. And she would run here and there, and like this is the way it's described in the Puranas. And so in order to keep track of her, keep her in sight, he grew 4 heads, and he grew a head above also, to see when she went up from above also, so that he could see. So when he saw so much of obsession of his, I mean, constant under surveillance, you can say. So Shiva, the Rudra, when Rudra he got annoyed, and he chopped off the 5th head of Brahmadeva, and that is how he became enemy of Daksha Prajapati. Daksha Prajapati refused to invite Shiva to that yajna, because he had cut off the 5th head of Brahmadeva. And that is the Kapalishwar temple in Chennai, which is there. The skull was used for begging bowl by Shiva, because he was reduced to that condition. And then when Sati was immolated, so that's how the story began. So Shiva is narrating this whole story, how it happened. So then, because he had cut off that head, Brahmadeva had cursed, because for him Saraswati was like his Shakti. So when that 5th head was cut off, he had no access to that aspect of knowledge, and so he suffered the pain of a widower. So he cursed Shiva that you will also suffer the same, that kind of a pain. But by the time Parvati was born, Brahmadeva didn't want Parvati to die for Shiva to suffer that pain. So Parvati had to be kept alive, and so he himself promised that Brahmadeva will be born as the son of Shiva. So Brahmadeva manifested as Ganesha, and then he got his own head chopped off and then replaced by the elephant's head. That story we all know, and that is how Ganesha got life. Prana Pratishta, that prana was infused into that child after the head was replaced by Brahmadeva. Brahmadeva with that 4 heads, he instilled by chanting that Pranava Om, I think for 1 lakh years or something. Then that life force was infused into the child Ganesha. He was born again, and then what Shiva and Parvati said, now they said, then this Ganesha became the Brahmanaspati, like by and by, because of his innocence, because there's a great description of this Ganesha aspect, the head aspect, the body aspect, how they are different, how the Tat Tvamasi, he is a very embodiment of the Tat Tvamasi, the Tat aspect, Tvam aspect, and the beingness aspect. So this whole thing is the sum and substance of Mudgal Puran and the Ganesh Gita, which is a further part of the 9th part of Mudgal Puran. Just like how Bhagavad Gita is a part of Vishnu Puran, of Mahabharata. So in this, Ganesha became, this Ganesha's incarnation took place in Dwapara Yuga. So by that time, the Kruta Yuga was completely set aside. Then the Treta, Dwapara and Kali Yuga was again rescheduled as the 72 Kalpas, and with 72 Chaturyugas, which we discussed earlier, the solar cycles and everything. And so this Ganesha was reinstated as Brahmanaspati. the Brahma, and that Brahma was which was the original Parabrahma, was set aside as a grand. So he was as a grandsire, and then this Ganesha became the Brahmanaspati, as so he is from him everything got manifested. But then that manifested after the Treta Yuga. So so this whole thing, Ganesha's abode, the original Swananda Loka is somewhere else. Then the Swananda Loka was created in Kailash, where it is Swarga Swananda. That is all the, just like how human beings, those who are worshippers of Vishnu go to Vaikunt, those who are worshippers of Shiva go to Kailash, those who are worshippers of Shakti go to Shakti Loka, Surya worshippers, Sauras go to Saura Mandala or Surya Mandala, and those worshippers of Ganesha go to this Swarga Swananda in Kailash, and they, after exhausting all their punya and all, they come back and take rebirth. Only the Swananda Loka, which that Loka is totally different, where there is no rebirth. You be there until Mahapralaya happens, and then when Ganesha again, when that Parabrahma again manifests, it will happen. So that is the final liberation which we talk about. These are all freedom, or the liberation where you merge with a particular Ishvara, and if you attain liberation by worshipping either Shiva, Vishnu, Shakti, Surya, or anybody, you attain liberation, and you are until the minor annihilations that take place frequently, where these Ishvaras get merged into Parabrahma, and then again they manifest in the next creation. This creation destruction keeps on happening continuously at varying periods in time. So so in this way, we finally, where I want to arrive at is coming back to the present day situation, where we found that Sri Rama's temple, where Rama is an avatar of Vishnu, he was installed in a Shiva's temple, that is a place which was the where Shiva had manifested, and which was worshipped as a Shiva temple for several aeons of time, and which was subsequently destroyed, and masjid was placed, and different other communities or other religions practiced. But the original, so if you go to birthplace of Rama and then you say that is a birthplace, that was 40,000 years ago, 48,000 years ago. So we are in the 48th Kali Yuga. We are in the 28th Chatur Yuga. Kali Yuga of 20th Chatur Yuga. So there in the 24th Treta Yuga, Rama was born. So at that point of time, Rama was born there, was not an incarnation of Vishnu. He was incarnation of Brahma. And this is revealed in the M.S. Subbalakshmi's song, which goes like this.
शुद्ध ब्रह्म परात्पर राम, कालात्मक परमेश्वर राम। शुद्ध ब्रह्म परात्पर राम, कालात्मक परमेश्वर राम। शेषशैल सुख निर्दल राम, ब्रह्माद्यमर प्रार्थित राम। चंड किरण कुल मंडन राम, श्रीमद् शरत नंदन राम। कौशल्या सुख वर्तन राम, श्रीमित्र प्रिय सन राम। घोरताटका घातक राम, मारीचादिनि पातक राम। कौशिक मख संरक्षक राम, श्रीमदगल्योद्धार मुनि संपूजित राम सुर मुनिवर गण संस्तुत राम नाविक धावित मृदुबर राम मिथिलापुर जन मोहक राम विदेह मानस रंजक राम त्र्यंबक कार्मुक भंजक राम सीतार्पित वरमालिक राम कृतवैवाहिक कौतुक राम भागवदर्प विनाशक राम श्रीमदयोध्या पालक राम 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 जय राजा राम 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 जय सीताराम राम राम जय राजा राम 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 जय सीताराम.
So, Brahma, from Brahma, Shuddha Brahma Parapara Ram, Kalatmaga Parameshwara Ram. From the Shuddha Brahma was born Ram, and Kalatmaga, over the passage of time, he became the Raja Ram. That incarnation of Ram, he incarnated as Ram, and that incarnation took place in the 24th century in the Treta Yuga. So that was 40,000 years ago. And then this I discovered, I discovered in the month of May, where I went on May 11th, 2026, this year, when I went to Shirgari, which I missed out in the last occasion. I went to Shirgari. In Shirgari, which is, it's a large town, 19 kilometers from Mayilathurai, on the railroad to Chidambaram. On that way, I actually landed in Coimbatore and came all the way back. Almost, this is closer to Trichy, but I came all the way back. That's why I had given a suggestion, you should have an airport at Chidambaram. Anyway, so the Shirgari, which is, at the Shirgari, there is a temple called Brahmapurishwarar. I went to this Brahmapurishwarar temple. This is a Shiva temple where Shiva, it was actually this place, Shirgari means, actually it is Kali. Kali's avatar, the presence is in that place, but Kali then it became over God knows in which yuga it might have been, but Kali became Kali. If the L pronunciation became subdued, and then it became Kalipuram, and then it became Shirgari, because there is one. In the passage of time, it came to contraction and variation, which in course of time came to be known as Shirgari. Now, in the Shirgari, it has given birth to some great poets who have described Brahmadeva. And at that time, at one point of time in history, when there was total annihilation, there was floods everywhere. One small land was emerged out of that water, and that was this Shirgari, the village of Shirgari, which Shiva noticed. Shiva at that time incarnated as a fisherman. He, as a fisherman, he came as Thoniyappan. Thoni means boat, and the one who navigates the boat is Thoni. Thoniyappan as the rider of the boat. He and then that Lord, who along with his consort Shri Uma, who had his Shakti at that time was Uma, and both together seeing this land, using that water and the land as the two primordial elements, again did the creation. Entire creation of all animate and inanimate objects was created by them, and that is why a temple was built here called Brahmapurishwarar. So Shiva here, although the destructive element, he undertook the work of creation, he is treated like Brahma. But when I went to this temple, that was dead as a dodo. There was no pranavayu inside. I barely could breathe. There were two other women who had come inside the temple. It was totally dark, no ventilation, no air to breathe. I was wondering how that pujari was sitting there and giving the vibhuti. vibhuti he was giving to the this, but he entered into a conversation with one of the ladies who were talking about some jadagam, and that is the horoscope of her daughter or her, something. They entered into a conversation. I moved away, but I was wondering how they are able to live normally in that place where I could barely breathe. I was hardly able to move, take one step. My body felt so heavy. One step was heavy. It was like coming out of a cremation ground. Virtually there's no prana vayu there. And I somehow managed to come out into the open, landed in my car, and collapsed in the car. Then after some time I asked for something to sugary, to that is, I asked for sugarcane juice, but it was not available. The car driver managed to get me watermelon juice, and I was able to get back my consciousness and was able to revive myself. And then I came out of this Brahmapurishwar temple. So that Brahma, that Shiva, a destructive element, a creative element you infuse into a Shiva element. See how the energies work there. And so here, when you install a Brahma, in originally a Shiva place, but over a period of time, when Brahma had manifested, if at all, if your records are right and you have found this as the birthplace of Rama, as the historical records, the birthplace of Rama as being Ayodhya and everything through the historical records, then you should install him as Brahma, not an aspect of Vishnu. So that is how, because Rama was an Ansh manifestation of Brahma. Shuddha Brahma Parat Pararam. He is not an incarnation of Vishnu, he is an incarnation of Brahma. So, so that is how we need to, that temple which is now deserted, which is lost, and which has been, now it's barren kind of, we can revive it as a Brahma temple. We don't have many temples for Brahma in our country, and even the one or two Brahma temples which is there, it is just remembered once in a way. So we can have a proper temple for Brahma. We can restore Brahma as a creator to his deserved position as a creator in this world, and which is the reason why Saraswati said that she will not have any temple in this world, because if Brahma is not having a temple, means at that time she was a Shakti of Brahma, that is her the very life force of where Brahma manifested as creator. So if he is not having a temple, because due to the curse of Shiva had cursed that you will not have any temple in this world, and so Brahma has no temple, is not worshipped as the main deity. So Saraswati, there is no temple. She herself told that she will not have any temple, and so only the Chola dynasty, they have a temple at here nearby, only near this Brahmapurishwar in Shirgadi. In this place only there is a Saraswati temple, Mahasaraswati temple, at which I was fortunate to be on my birthday on 26th, which I happened to be. Mahasaraswati temple at Kutanur, which is at Kutanur in, that's also near you can get down at Trichy and go there. This is near Mailaduturai. It is half a kilometer. The village of Kutanur, which is famous for its temple of Mahasaraswati, is about half a kilometer. Pundottam, a small town situated 20 kilometers from Tiruvarur on the main road to Mailaduturai, 35 kilometers from Kumbakonam on the road to Karaikal. So this is very rarely, I mean, it's not at all known. Even the driver did not know. He said, okay, madam, you are telling me, so let us explore where it is. And so that is how we went through GPS. And where we landed there, and this is the Mahasaraswati temple, which where the Chola kings had worshipped Saraswati, goddess Saraswati, during that period of the 11th century. All his that entire lineage had been worshipping Saraswati, goddess Saraswati, and even now that temple is dedicated to, and huge processions and celebrations are taking place during Dasara. So if we are to revive this goddess of learning in this country, we need to establish Brahma, temple for Brahma. So this ready-made temple that is there at Ayodhya, because he is Shuddha Brahma Paratpararam, so revelation of truth to humanity about when the Creator incarnated on this earth as Sri Ram, mistaken for an incarnation of Vishnu, and for whom a temple was built as Shiva, the grand mix-up of the whole Holy Trinity. So that is how we get these gods or the deities to recover from that guttam, that interconnectedness which caused all this confusion, in creation, destruction, and maintenance. And if they are restored to their respective administrative positions, given their authority, given their responsibility, they will be able to function just as it is in heaven, so on earth. So with these words, let me conclude today's session. We'll take up where we left off in another class. Jai Gajana.